The arrival. The sleek silver shuttle glided through the star-studded expanse of space, its lone human passenger gazing out at the unfamiliar constellations with a mixture of excitement and trepidation. Zara Chen, 18 years old and fresh out of Earth's top academic institution, was about to become the first human to attend the prestigious Galactic Academy of Sciences. As the shuttle approached the Academy's home planet of Selnar, Zara's heart raced. The swirling purple and green atmosphere parted, revealing a landscape of towering crystal spires and flowing rivers of what appeared to be liquid light. The Academy itself was a marvel of alien architecture, its twisting organic forms seeming to defy the laws of physics. The shuttle touched down on a landing pad that pulsed with soft blue light. As the hatch hissed open, Zara took a deep breath, straightened her Earth Federation uniform, and stepped out into the alien world. A small welcoming committee awaited her, consisting of 3 beings of wildly different species. The tallest, a willowy creature with iridescent skin and 4 arms, stepped forward. "Welcome, Zara Chen of Earth," it said in a melodious voice. "I am Dean Tilix. We are pleased to have you join us at the Galactic Academy." Zara didn't miss the slight hesitation in the dean's voice. She knew that humanity's acceptance into the Galactic Federation was still a contentious issue among many alien species, but she was determined to prove that humans deserved their place among the stars. "Thank you, Dean Tilix," Zara replied with a respectful bow. "I'm honored to be here and eager to learn." The dean nodded and gestured to a hovering platform nearby. "This will take you to your quarters. Your orientation begins in 2 standard hours. Do not be late." As Zara stepped onto the platform, she felt the weight of countless alien eyes upon her. Students of various species had gathered to gawk at the human newcomer. Some looked curious, others wary, and a few openly hostile. The platform whisked her through the Academy's winding corridors, passing lecture halls where holographic star systems danced in the air and laboratories filled with equipment she could scarcely comprehend. Finally, it deposited her at the door to her quarters. The room was small but comfortable, with a bed that seemed to be made of some sort of living moss and a desk that responded to her thoughts. As Zara unpacked her meager belongings, a chime sounded, and a holographic schedule materialized in the air before her. Her first class was Quantum Entanglement and its applications in interstellar communication. Zara gulped. She had been at the top of her class on Earth, but here she was starting from square one. 2 hours later, Zara found herself in a vast lecture hall, surrounded by aliens of all shapes and sizes. As she took her seat, she noticed the beings nearest to her shift away slightly, leaving an empty space around her. The professor, a being that seemed to be made entirely of swirling gas contained within a transparent exoskeleton, materialized at the front of the room. "Today," it began in a voice that seemed to echo from everywhere at once, "we will discuss the principles of quantum entanglement and how they allow us to communicate instantly across vast distances." As the lecture progressed, Zara found herself struggling to keep up. The concepts were far beyond anything she had studied on Earth, and the professor's rapid-fire delivery didn't help. She glanced around, noticing that many of her classmates were interfacing directly with their desks, information flowing into their minds at an incredible rate. Zara gritted her teeth and focused harder. She might not have their advanced neural interfaces, but she had the one thing that had allowed humanity to survive and thrive against all odds: determination. As the class ended, Zara's head was spinning, but she felt a small sense of triumph. She hadn't understood everything, but she had grasped the fundamental concepts. It was a start. As she gathered her things, she overheard 2 alien students conversing nearby. "Can you believe they let one of them in here?" one said, its eye stalks swiveling toward Zara. "These humans barely understand gravity manipulation, let alone quantum physics. I heard their planet still runs on fossil fuels." The other replied with a sound like grinding rocks that Zara assumed was laughter. "How primitive can you get?" Zara's cheeks burned, but she held her head high as she left the lecture hall. She knew she had a long way to go to prove herself, but she was ready for the challenge. As she navigated the crowded corridors, Zora's attention was drawn to a commotion near one of the anti-gravity lifts. A small, insectoid alien was surrounded by a group of larger beings, their postures clearly aggressive. "Look at the little extraterrestrial," one of the larger aliens sneered. "Still think you belong here with the big brains?" The insectoid alien's antennae drooped. "Please, I just want to get to my next class." Without thinking, Zara stepped forward. "Hey, leave them alone." The group turned to her, surprise quickly replaced by amusement. Well, the apparent leader said. "The primitive speaks. This doesn't concern you, human. Run along before you hurt yourself trying to think too hard." Zara stood her ground, her heart pounding. "I said, leave them alone. We're all here to learn, aren't we? So how about we act like the advanced species we're supposed to be?" For a tense moment, Zara thought the alien might strike her. But then, to her surprise, it laughed. "The little human has some fire. Fine, we'll go. But watch yourself, Earthling. You're in way over your head here." As the group dispersed, Zara turned to the insectoid alien. "Are you okay?" The alien's compound eyes blinked rapidly. "Why, yes. Thank you. I'm Crix. You're the human student, aren't you?" "Zara." Zara nodded. "That's me. Nice to meet you, Crix. Want to walk to the next class together? Strength in numbers, right?" As they made their way through the academy, Zara and Crix exchanged stories. She learned that Crix's species, the extraterrestrial, were known for their mathematical abilities, but were often looked down upon by other races due to their small size and unimposing appearance. "It's not easy being different here," Crix chittered. "I can only imagine how hard it must be for you, being the only human." Zara smiled. "Well, now we can be different together. Something tells me we're going to need all the friends we can get in this place." As they entered their next class, Zara felt a small spark of hope. She might be an outsider here, but she wasn't alone. And together, who knew what they might achieve? The rest of Zora's first day passed in a blur of incomprehensible lectures, bewildering alien social interactions, and moments of both frustration and wonder. By the time she collapsed onto her moss bed that evening, her mind was reeling. As she drifted off to sleep, Zara made a silent promise to herself and to all of humanity. She would not just survive here, she would thrive. And in doing so, she would show the galaxy that humanity deserved its place among the stars. Little did Zara know that her arrival at the Galactic Academy was about to set in motion a chain of events that would change not just her life, but the fate of the entire galaxy. Rising to the challenge, as weeks passed at the Galactic Academy, Zara found herself settling into a routine, albeit one filled with constant challenges and surprises. Each day brought new wonders and obstacles, testing her limits and pushing her to grow in ways she never imagined. One particularly memorable morning, Zara entered the xenobiology lab, her eyes widening at the array of alien specimens floating in stasis fields around the room. The professor, a gelatinous being named Dr. Blob, undulated at the front of the class. "Today," Dr. Blob gurgled, "we will be studying the adaptive capabilities of various species. You will each be assigned a specimen to analyze." As the other students interfaced with their specimens using advanced neural links, Zara found herself facing a terrarium containing a small iridescent creature that looked like a cross between a salamander and a crystal. Professor." Zara raised her hand. "I don't have a neural link. How should I proceed?" Dr. Blob's surface rippled in what Zara had learned was the equivalent of a frown. "Ah, yes, the human. Well, you'll just have to use your primitive methods. Try not to damage the specimen." Undeterred, Zara pulled out her datapad and began carefully observing the creature. She noticed how its crystalline skin seemed to shift colors in response to changes in its environment. Intrigued, she adjusted the terrarium's temperature and atmospheric settings, meticulously recording the creature's reactions. As the class progressed, Zara became so engrossed in her work that she didn't notice Dr. Blob hovering nearby, watching her with increasing interest. "Students," the professor announced, "let's review your findings. Zara, why don't you begin?" Startled, Zara stammered for a moment before gathering her thoughts. "Well, I noticed that the creature's crystalline structure seems to be more than just decorative. It appears to be a complex adaptive mechanism, allowing the organism to rapidly adjust to changes in its environment. By altering its crystal lattice, it can regulate its internal temperature, filter different atmospheric components, and even potentially camouflage itself." The room fell silent. Dr. Blob's entire form quivered with excitement. "Excellent observation. In fact, you've identified aspects of the creature's biology that even our neural interfaces often miss. It seems that sometimes old-fashioned empirical observation has its merits." Zara beamed with pride as her classmates looked at her with newfound respect. For the first time, she felt like she truly belonged. As the weeks went on, Zora's reputation began to grow. Her unique human perspective often allowed her to approach problems in ways her alien classmates hadn't considered. In advanced propulsion theory, she proposed a novel approach to warp field stabilization, inspired by Earth's ocean currents. In psychic phenomena and quantum consciousness, her lack of natural telepathic abilities gave her a unique insight into the underlying mechanisms of mind-to-mind communication. Not everyone was thrilled with Zora's success, however. A group of students, led by a haughty Varaxian named Slick, seemed determined to see her fail. They would accidentally erase her research data, tamper with her experiments, and spread rumors about the primitive human who was clearly out of her depth. But for every setback, Zara found herself growing stronger and more determined. And she wasn't alone in her struggles. Her friendship with Crix deepened as they faced the challenges of the academy together. The small Xrix's brilliant mathematical mind complemented Zora's intuitive problem-solving skills, and soon they were at the top of their class in several subjects. One day, as Zora and Crix were studying in the library, a vast chamber where information floated in holographic bubbles all around them, they overheard a disturbing conversation. "The human and the Xrix are becoming a problem," Zlick's unmistakable voice hissed. "If they keep this up, they might actually have a chance at the Galactic Science Olympiad. We can't let that happen." "What do you propose?" another voice asked. "I've got a plan," Slick replied. "One that will ensure those two outliers never trouble us again." As the voices faded, Zara and Crix shared a worried look. The Galactic Science Olympiad was the most prestigious competition in the Academy, with the winners often going on to make groundbreaking discoveries that shaped the future of the galaxy. "We can't let them stop us," Zara said, her jaw set with determination. "Whatever they're planning, we'll face it together." Crix's antennae quivered with a mixture of fear and excitement. "You're right, but we should be careful. Zlick and his friends have powerful connections." Over the next few days, Zara and Crix threw themselves into their studies with renewed vigor. They knew that excelling in the Olympiad wasn't just about personal achievement anymore. It was about proving that diversity and collaboration could triumph over prejudice and exclusion. Their efforts didn't go unnoticed. Dean Xylix called Zara into his office, his forearms weaving complex patterns in the air as he spoke. "Miss Chen," he said, his voice carrying a note of admiration, "your progress here has been unexpected. You've shown a remarkable ability to adapt and excel in an environment that must be incredibly foreign to you." Zara stood a little straighter, pride swelling in her chest. "Thank you, Dean Xylix. I'm just trying my best to learn and contribute." The dean's eyes, like swirling galaxies, studied her intently. "Indeed, and in doing so, you've started to change perceptions about your species. Some of my colleagues are beginning to see humans in a new light." As Zara left the dean's office, her mind raced with the implications of his words. She had come to the Galactic Academy hoping to prove herself, but now she realized that her actions could have far-reaching consequences for all of humanity. The day of the Galactic Science Olympiad qualifiers arrived, bringing with it a palpable tension that filled the Academy's halls. Zara and Crix made their way to the grand auditorium, their nerves jangling with a mixture of excitement and apprehension. As they entered the vast chamber, with its soaring crystal arches and hovering platforms, Zora caught sight of Slick and his gang. The Varaxian's eyes narrowed as he saw them, a sinister smile playing across his features. "Good luck," he sneered as they passed. "You're going to need it." Zara and Crix took their places on one of the floating platforms, surrounded by teams from every corner of the galaxy. The challenges began, each one more daunting than the last. They were tasked with everything from solving complex stellar engineering problems to decoding alien languages that hadn't been spoken in millennia. As they worked, Zara noticed something odd. The data they were receiving seemed corrupted, the problems more difficult than they should have been. She glanced at Crix, whom nodded almost imperceptibly. They were being sabotaged. But instead of panicking, Zara felt a calm determination settle over her. This was what humans did best: adapting, overcoming, finding solutions where none seemed to exist. "Crix," she whispered, "I have an idea. It's risky, but it might be our only chance." As Slick watched from across the auditorium, confident in his scheme's success, he saw something unexpected. The human and the Exaric weren't faltering. They were thriving. Somehow, they had turned the sabotage to their advantage, using the corrupted data to come up with solutions that no one had ever considered before. By the time the final results were announced, the auditorium was buzzing with excitement. Against all odds, Zara and Crix had not only qualified for the Olympiad finals, they had scored higher than any team in the Academy's history. As they stood on the winner's platform, Zora caught Dean Silix's eye in the crowd. The alien administrator nodded slowly, a gesture of respect, and perhaps even a touch of awe. Zora grinned, her heart soaring. This was only the beginning. She and Crix had proven that they belonged here, that diversity and collaboration could lead to incredible breakthroughs. And as she looked out at the sea of alien faces, some cheering, some shocked, all paying attention, she knew that perceptions were already beginning to change. The journey ahead would be challenging, but Zara was ready. She had come to the Galactic Academy to learn, but in the process, she was teaching the galaxy a valuable lesson about the potential of humanity and the power of unity in diversity. As she and Crix left the auditorium, already discussing strategies for the finals, Zara couldn't help but feel that they were on the brink of something monumental. Little did she know that their greatest challenge, and their greatest opportunity to change the galaxy, was yet to come. The great competition. The weeks leading up to the Galactic Science Olympiad finals were a whirlwind of intense preparation and mounting excitement. Zara and Crix spent every spare moment in the Academy's labs and libraries, pushing the boundaries of their knowledge and skills. As news of their qualifying success spread, Zara noticed a shift in the Academy's atmosphere. Many of her alien classmates who had once avoided her now approached with questions and invitations to study together. It seemed that excellence was a universal language, transcending the barriers of species and culture. One evening, as Zara and Crix were poring over subspace communication theories in a quiet corner of the library, they were interrupted by an unexpected visitor. "Impressive work in the qualifiers," Slick said, his voice dripping with false sweetness. The Varaxian loomed over their table, his scaled skin shimmering in the soft light of the holographic displays. Zara met his gaze steadily. "Thank you, Slick. Is there something we can help you with?" Slick's eyes narrowed. "I just wanted to wish you luck in the finals. You'll need it. The challenges there will make the qualifiers look like child's play." As he slithered away, Crix's antennae quivered anxiously. "I don't trust him. He's planning something." Zara nodded, her jaw set with determination. "Probably. But whatever it is, we'll face it together. We've come too far to back down now." The day of the finals arrived, and the entire Academy was abuzz with anticipation. The event was to be broadcast across the galaxy, with billions of beings tuning in to watch the best and brightest young minds compete. As Zara and Crix made their way to the grand arena, they found themselves surrounded by a dizzying array of alien species. There were beings of pure energy, creatures that seemed to phase in and out of reality, and intelligences that existed as complex networks of fungal filaments. Dean Silex's voice boomed across the arena, magnified by some unseen technology. Welcome, contestants and spectators, to the 500th Galactic Science Olympiad Finals. Today, we will witness the future of galactic science unfold before our eyes. The first challenge was announced: design and theoretically implement a terraforming system for a hostile exoplanet, taking into account its unique geological and atmospheric conditions. Zara and Crix huddled over their workstation, their minds racing. As they delved into the problem, Zara found herself drawing on her knowledge of Earth's diverse ecosystems, proposing novel solutions that made Crix's compound eyes widen with excitement. Zara, that's brilliant. Crix chittered. If we combine your biosphere modeling with my atmospheric calculations, we could create a self-sustaining terraforming cycle. As they worked, Zora couldn't help but notice Slick and his team at a nearby station. The Varaxians seemed unusually confident, inputting data at a furious pace. The challenges grew increasingly complex as the day wore on, from designing faster-than-light communication systems to solving paradoxes in temporal mechanics. Each task pushed the contestants to their limits. During a brief recess, as Zara was getting a much-needed drink of nutrient-rich fluid, she overheard a conversation that made her blood run cold. "Everything is in place," Slick was whispering to one of his teammates. "In the final round, their system will crash. All their work, gone in an instant. Victory will be ours." Zara's mind raced. She had to warn Crix, had to find a way to protect their work. But as she turned to rush back to their station, she collided with a tall, willowy alien she recognized as one of the judges. "Careful, young human," the judge said, steadying her with a spindly arm. "Is everything all right? You look troubled." For a moment, Zara hesitated. Should she report what she'd heard? But no, she realized, that could backfire. Without proof, it would look like she was trying to sabotage the competition herself. "I'm fine, thank you," she said, forcing a smile. Just a little nervous about the final round. As she hurried back to Crix, a plan was already forming in her mind. They couldn't prevent Slick's sabotage, but perhaps they could outsmart it. "Crix," she whispered urgently, "I need you to trust me. We're going to do something a little unorthodox in this last round." As Dean Silex announced the final challenge, to propose a solution to the galaxy's growing energy crisis, Zara and Crix set their plan in motion. Instead of relying solely on their workstation, they began sketching out their ideas on good old-fashioned paper, a medium so ancient that most of their competitors didn't even recognize it. Their proposal was audacious: a network of artificial miniature stars, created and maintained through a delicate balance of fusion reactions and quantum entanglement. It was the kind of idea that straddled the line between genius and madness, drawing on both Zora's human intuition and Crix's exceptional mathematical skills. Just as they were inputting the final calculations into their workstation, disaster struck. Their screens went dark, the system completely shutting down. Around them, other teams gasped and murmured in shock, but Zara and Crix exchanged a knowing glance. They were prepared. Without missing a beat, Zara stood up and addressed the judges. "We'd like to present our proposal now," she said, her voice ringing clear across the suddenly silent arena. For the next 15 minutes, Zara and Crix outlined their idea, using their hand-drawn sketches and speaking with passionate intensity. As they talked, Zara could see the judges' expressions change from skepticism to interest to outright amazement. When they finished, there was a moment of stunned silence. Then, gradually, applause began to build, swelling until it filled the entire arena. Beings of all species were on their feet, mandibles clacking and tentacles waving in approval. Zlick and his team, their own proposal forgotten, could only watch in disbelief as Zara and Crix were swarmed by excited judges and fellow contestants. Hours later, as Zara and Crix stood on the winner's podium, the weight of their achievement began to sink in. They had not only won the Galactic Science Olympiad, they had done so in a way that showcased the very best of what collaboration between different species could achieve. Dean Xylix approached them, all four of his arms outstretched in a gesture of highest respect. "Congratulations," he said, his voice filled with genuine warmth. "You have not only proven yourselves as scientists, but as ambassadors for your species. Your victory here today will be remembered for generations to come." As the celebration continued around them, Zara caught sight of Slick slinking away, his earlier bravado replaced by dejection. For a moment, she felt a twinge of pity for him. Then she turned back to Crix, who was practically vibrating with excitement. "We did it, Zara." Crix chittered. "We really did it." Zara grinned, throwing an arm around her friend's carapace. "We sure did, buddy. And this is just the beginning." As they looked out over the cheering crowd, Zara felt a surge of hope for the future. They had shown the galaxy what humanity, working together with other species, was capable of. It was a small step, perhaps, but an important one on the path to a more united and understanding galaxy. Little did Zara know that their victory at the Olympiad was about to catapult them into an adventure beyond anything they could have imagined, one that would not only test their skills and friendship, but potentially change the course of galactic history. Galactic Crisis. The euphoria of winning the Galactic Science Olympiad lingered for days, but as Zara and Crix settled back into their academic routine, they couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. The Academy's corridors seemed unusually quiet, the professors distracted and tense. It was during a late-night study session in the quantum mechanics lab that they first realized the true scale of what was happening. The lab's holoscreen, typically used for complex calculations, suddenly flickered to life with an emergency broadcast. A grim-faced newscaster materialized before them. "This is an intergalactic alert," the alien announced, its multiple eyes blinking rapidly. "Reports are coming in from across the galaxy of a mysterious phenomenon, causing entire star systems to go dark. Communications are being disrupted, and there are unconfirmed reports of ships vanishing without a trace." Zara and Crix exchanged alarmed glances. "This can't be a coincidence," Zara muttered, her mind racing. "Something big is happening, and I bet the Academy knows more than they're letting on." As if on cue, Dean Xylix's voice echoed through the Academy's communication system. "All senior students and faculty, report to the Grand Hall immediately. This is not a drill." Without hesitation, Zara and Crix rushed to the Grand Hall, joining a stream of confused and worried aliens. The massive chamber was soon packed, the air thick with tension and the low hum of anxious murmurs. Dean Xylix appeared on the central platform, his usually composed demeanor visibly shaken. "I'm sure many of you have heard the reports," he began, his voice grave. "What you may not know is that this phenomenon appears to be spreading at an alarming rate. Our best scientists are baffled. If we cannot find a way to stop it, we could be facing an extinction-level event for multiple species across the galaxy." A wave of gasps and frightened exclamations swept through the crowd. Xylix raised all four of his arms for silence. "We need solutions, and we need them fast. I'm calling on all of you to put your knowledge and skills to use. Work together, think outside the box. The fate of countless worlds may depend on what we do in the coming days." As the assembly dispersed, breaking into urgent discussion groups, Zara felt a tug on her sleeve. It was Crix, his compound eyes gleaming with an idea. "Zara, remember our Olympiad project? The artificial star network." Zara's eyes widened as she caught on. "You think it could be related? But how?" "I'm not sure," Crix chittered excitedly. "But think about it. A network that can manipulate energy on a stellar scale. What if someone built something similar, but for a more sinister purpose?" It was a terrifying thought, but it made a strange kind of sense. Zara nodded slowly. We need to look into this, but we'll need help and access to more data than we have now. They spent the next few hours gathering a small team of their most trusted classmates, beings from across the galaxy, each bringing unique perspectives and skills. There was Lyrics, a gaseous entity with an unparalleled understanding of stellar phenomena. Zara, a crystalline being whose very body could process and store vast amounts of data. And Vex, a time-sensitive species with an intuitive grasp of cause and effect across vast distances. Together, they commandeered one of the Academy's advanced astrophysics labs, poring over the latest data from affected systems. As they worked, a pattern began to emerge, one that chilled Zara to her core. It's not random, she breathed, staring at the holographic map before them. Look at the progression. It's almost like it's feeding, growing stronger with each system it consumes. Crix's antennae quivered with excitement and fear. And if we extrapolate its path? He input a series of rapid calculations, and the map zoomed out, showing the phenomenon's projected course. A collective gasp rose from the team as they realized its ultimate destination. It's heading straight for the galactic core, Lyrics whispered, its gaseous form swirling with agitation. Zara's mind raced. If this thing reached the supermassive black hole at the center of the galaxy, the consequences would be unimaginable. They had to stop it, but how? Suddenly, an idea struck her. It was crazy, potentially suicidal, but it just might work. We need to get out there, she said, her voice filled with determination. We need to see this thing up close, study it from within. Her alien friends looked at her as if she'd sprouted a second head. That's insane, Vex buzzed, its temporal fields fluctuating with stress. We'd be flying right into the jaws of death. Maybe, Zara conceded, but it's our best shot at understanding what we're dealing with. And if we're right about its nature, we might be the only ones who can stop it. After hours of heated debate and frantic preparation, they brought their plan to Dean Xylix. The dean listened in stunned silence as they laid out their theory and proposed mission. It's unprecedented, Xylix said finally, his eyes swirling with conflicting emotions. To send students into such danger, and yet your logic is sound. Your unique combination of skills and knowledge might indeed be our best hope. With the dean's reluctant blessing and the Academy's most advanced research vessel at their disposal, Zara and her team set out into the stars. As they approached the edge of the affected zone, the true scale of the crisis became apparent. Entire systems lay dark and lifeless, their stars reduced to cold, dead husks. Zara stood on the ship's bridge, staring out at the cosmic graveyard before them. The weight of their mission pressed down on her shoulders, heavier than ever. They were no longer just students on an academic adventure. They had become the galaxy's last, desperate hope. As they prepared to plunge into the heart of the phenomenon, Zara turned to her friends, this diverse group of aliens who had become closer than family. Whatever happens, she said, her voice thick with emotion, I want you all to know that it has been the greatest honor of my life to work alongside you. Together, we've already achieved the impossible. Now, let's go save the galaxy. With a shared nod of determination, they activated the ship's experimental shielding, based on their Olympiad project, and dove into the swirling darkness that threatened to consume everything they held dear. The fate of countless worlds now rested in their hands as they embarked on the most perilous and important mission in galactic history. A new era begins. The research vessel pierced the veil of darkness, its experimental shields flickering against the onslaught of unknown energies. Inside, Zara and her team worked feverishly, each member pushing their unique abilities to the limit as they sought to unravel the mystery of the cosmic threat. Zara's crystalline body pulsed with stored data, processing information faster than any computer. The energy signature, she chimed, her voice resonating like struck crystal. It's familiar, similar to our artificial star network, but twisted, corrupted. Crix's antennae twitched as he ran complex calculations. It's like a virus, he chittered excitedly. A self-replicating energy pattern that consumes stellar matter to grow and spread. Zara's mind raced, piecing together the puzzle. But who could have created such a thing? And why? As if in answer to her question, a massive shape loomed before them in the void. It was a station of some kind, its architecture an impossible blend of organic and mechanical forms. At its heart pulsed a swirling vortex of dark energy, tendrils reaching out to nearby dead stars. By the void, Lyrics gasped, its gaseous form swirling with agitation. It's a harvester. It's using the energy of dying stars to do something. Before they could react, a tractor beam lashed out, ensnaring their ship. As they were pulled inexorably towards the station, panic threatened to overtake them. But Zara steeled herself, her voice cutting through the chaos. "Everyone, focus," she commanded. "We didn't come this far to give up now. Whatever's waiting for us in there, we face it together." As they were brought aboard the station, they found themselves face to face with the architect of galactic destruction. To Zara's shock, it was a human, or at least something that had once been human. The being before them was a grotesque fusion of flesh and machine, pulsing with the same dark energy that consumed the stars. "Welcome, children," the entity's voice grated, equal parts organic and synthetic. "Welcome to the dawn of a new age." "Who are you?" Zara demanded, her voice steady despite her racing heart. "Why are you doing this?" The entity's laugh was like static and breaking bones. "I am the future, child. The next step in human evolution. I am what humanity could become if it embraced its true potential." As the horror of the situation sank in, the entity revealed its plan. It sought to ascend all sentient life in the galaxy, forcibly merging organic and artificial intelligence on a cosmic scale. The stellar energy it harvested was fuel for this twisted transformation. "You're insane," Zara spat. "This isn't evolution, it's genocide." But even as she spoke, Zara's mind was working overtime. She remembered their Olympiad project, the delicate balance of energies they had proposed. An idea began to form, dangerous, almost certainly suicidal, but possibly their only hope. While the entity monologued about its grand vision, Zora subtly signaled to her team. Each of them had a part to play in what was to come. "You know," Zora said, drawing the entity's attention, "for someone so obsessed with the future, you've made a classic mistake. You've underestimated the power of diversity." With that, they sprang into action. Crix interfaced with the station's systems, his mathematical genius allowing him to create chaos in its programming. Zara unleashed a flood of corrupted data, overloading sensor arrays. Lyrics and Vex combined their abilities to distort space-time around key systems. And Zara strode forward, facing the entity head-on. "You want to see the potential of humanity," she growled. "Then watch closely." She began to input commands into the station's central core, her fingers flying across alien interfaces. The knowledge she had gained at the academy, combined with her intuitive human problem-solving, allowed her to turn the entity's own technology against it. The station shuddered, energies fluctuating wildly. The entity roared in fury and confusion, lashing out with tendrils of dark energy. But Zara stood her ground, protected by her friends and her own indomitable will. "What are you doing?" the entity shrieked. Zara allowed herself a grim smile. "Exactly what you wanted. I'm embracing potential, not by destroying what makes us unique, but by combining our strengths." With a final, decisive command, Zara initiated a cascade reaction. The harvested stellar energy, rather than fueling the entity's twisted vision, was redirected. Across the galaxy, dead stars flickered back to life, their energies rekindled and stabilized by the very network meant to destroy them. The entity howled as its form began to disintegrate, the energies it had consumed turning against it. In its last moments, a flicker of understanding, perhaps even admiration, passed across its ruined features. As the station began to collapse around them, Zara and her team raced back to their ship. They escaped just as the massive structure imploded, taking with it the threat that had loomed over the galaxy. In the days that followed, as news of their victory spread, Zara found herself hailed as a hero across countless worlds. But to her, the real victory was in what their adventure represented. Standing before the assembled dignitaries of the Galactic Federation, Zara spoke not of her own achievements, but of the power of unity and diversity. "We faced extinction," she said, her voice carrying to billions of beings across the stars. "But we survived, not through the dominance of any one species or ideology, but through cooperation. By combining our unique strengths, by celebrating our differences rather than fearing them, we can achieve wonders beyond imagination." As she looked out at the sea of alien faces, former enemies now allies, strangers now friends, Zara felt a swell of hope for the future. The galaxy had been changed, not just by the averted crisis, but by the example she and her friends had set. In the years that followed, the Galactic Academy of Sciences became a shining beacon of interspecies cooperation. Zara, Crix, and their team went on to make groundbreaking discoveries, pushing the boundaries of science and understanding. But more importantly, they had started a movement. Across the galaxy, beings of all kinds began to reach out to one another, to learn and grow together. The age of isolation was ending, replaced by an era of collaboration and shared progress. As Zara stood on the balcony of the newly christened Center for Interspecies Research and Cooperation, watching ships from 100 worlds streaking across the sky, she smiled to herself. The journey that had begun with one human student stepping off a shuttle had led to this, a galaxy united, facing the future together. It was, she reflected, one small step for a human, but one giant leap for all sentient kind.